What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dad Does Sports. I wanted to talk a little bit about the name changes that we've been hearing about in the news a little bit. One of them is the Cleveland Indians moving to the Cleveland Guardians. The other one is the Washington football team moving to something maybe kind of sort of in the not so distant future. So let's tackle the Indians first. And my first reaction to this was, what? Guardians? That's what you came up with? So listen, we've known, and the Indians have known for years now, that they're going to move away from that name, that logo, that moniker, right? And I'm just surprised this is what they've come up with without being pressured to change by a certain time, right? We knew it was coming. The pressure was going to come at some point, but they've had ample time to think through this, go through relevant consumer market research, focus groups, get an agency involved. I just can't believe that they came up with Guardians of all things. I get it. I've seen the rationale for it. I listened to the Tom Hanks thing. It's a play off of the two statues that are on the bridge that lead over to Progressive Field. But since when did we start naming our teams after statues? Like, this, I think, is a really weird way to go. And the thing is, the solution was right there for them. They could have harken back to their days in the late 1800s and just gone with spiders. The logos would have been cool. The uniforms would be cool. You could do a lot of different promotions with it. It's a cool name. I would have been interested to see what they could do with the uniforms. And if there's one thing that baseball has going for it over any of the other sports, it's history. Everybody loves the history of baseball. It's kind of a romantic thing about it, right? We all kind of crave the history and the stats and everything that goes along with it. So this could have fallen right into their laps. But even if they didn't want to go with spiders, they had years to come up with other things that maybe were inherent in Cleveland history and the culture there. I'm just surprised they went with Guardians, named after a statue. And oh, by the way, have you seen the logo for it? It's a baseball with the word Guardians coming off the back of it with some wings on the side. I mean, dude, for real? I get it. The wings are there because they're on the helmets that the statues have. But I just feel like this is a really odd decision. And what kills me about some of these name changes is that they probably paid an agency millions of dollars to go through different types of research and focus groups. At least I'm hoping. And this is what they come up with. Like, there wasn't somebody there that said, can we go in a different direction here? Like, I'm not so sure Guardians is the right way to go. Maybe they did and they got overruled. I'm disappointed in this. Let's talk about the Washington football team. Kind of a different situation, right? They already changed their name, at least temporarily, to the football team for last calendar year or last year in the NFL. And my first reaction to that, regardless of what you think about the Redskins name, I know a lot of people are of the mindset that it's very offensive. Other people don't care. Other people don't think it's offensive. I'm not here to debate that, right? I'm here to think about kind of what's next for them and talk about what's next for them. My first reaction when they came out with the Washington football team last year was, wow, that's weird and boring and unoriginal. But you know what? It's kind of grown on me. Now, football doesn't have the history that baseball does, right? But I like how they brought the history back in from some of the teams in the earlier part of the 1900s, right, where they were just typically named after the city that they were in. So I like that aspect of it. Now we're moving forward. Now we're getting to a different point where they have just recently released their 8 finalists for their brand new team name, and I'm glad to see the actual Washington football team is still a possibility because, like I said, I do like where they went with that. But let me read these off to you. Armada, Brigade, Commanders, and those have a potential to kind of go back to the war, George Washington, Revolution kind of thing. Not a big fan, but I at least see where they're going with some of those. The Defenders, which to me, I think there's an XFL team that was named that. If there wasn't one, it certainly screams of that. And the USFL too. That sounds like an alternative football team name. I don't like that at all. Same with the Commanders, actually, from my previous statement. Commanders sounds very USFL-ish, XFL-ish. We've got the Presidents, which I think is a terrible name. Like, really, we're bringing politics into this, and we're going after, people who have served in office there just because we're in Washington, D.C. I don't think that screams a football team nickname. And the two that I think are actually maybe at the worst ones, the Red Hogs and the Red Wolves. Now listen, I love those team names for a minor league baseball team. I think minor league baseball team is ripe with excellent nicknames of teams. They do a great job on logos, promotions, all those things. But for an NFL team, I don't think those work, especially the Red Hogs. And oh, by the way, get rid of the red. Like, you've already tried to move past the Redskins, right? If you're going to move past the Redskins, move past it. Get rid of the word red from any of the potential nicknames. And then we've got the Washington football team. I say out of all these, just keep the football team. You've had it for a year. It works. It looks old school. It sounds old school. The uniforms actually work. There's not another team in the NFL that is using a name like that. Go for it. Again, this astounds me. Same with the Indians, that you're probably paying some sports marketing agency. You're probably going through some consumer testing. You're probably going through some focus groups. And these are the 8 that you came up with. I feel like I could just go back on the street and ask some fans, whether they're in Washington or other places, come up with some other names for the football team, maybe based on some historical context. And I get they try to do that a little bit with the Armada and the Brigade and the Commanders, but it just doesn't work. Thanks for watching. See you next time.